The story began in 1866 in a dusty border town during the Day of the Dead. A group of outlaws steal a strange glowing skull off a young woman's family altar, which later leads into a very brutal consequence. The outlaws think they've gotten away with it. However, a spectral rider on a glowing-eyed horse appears on the hill above them, and that leads to all three men getting burned alive with hellfire. In the chaos, the skull, later called the Soul Crystal, gets knocked loose and buried in an open grave, a detail worth remembering for later. Meet teenage Johnny Blaze, son of stunt rider Barton Blaze, is head over heels for a local girl named Roxanne. Therefore, in just a handful of scenes, we already know exactly what he stands to lose. The problem is, Barton's secretly dying of cancer. Because of that hidden truth, when Johnny finds him gravely ill that same night, it hits twice as hard. We saw it coming. He didn't. That desperation is exactly what a mysterious figure called the Stranger preys on. He offers Johnny a deal: cure Barton's cancer in exchange for Johnny's soul. Therefore, Johnny, young, terrified, out of options, signs on without reading the fine print. The cure actually works. As a result, Barton wakes up healthy the very next morning. However, during their stunt show that same day, his motorcycle explodes in a freak accident, and he dies anyway. The Stranger kept his word to the letter, and nothing more, which tells you everything about how dangerously literal this guy is. Devastated, Johnny ditches his plan to run off with Roxanne. Instead, he rides away alone, leaving her waiting under a tree. Before he goes, the Stranger brands him with a curse tied to always and forever, the exact phrase Johnny carved into that tree for Roxanne, a cruel little twist turning a love note into a curse. Years later, Johnny's a famous stunt rider. Fame on the outside, still haunted underneath. His best friend Mac jokes about his lucky streak. However, small, unsettling details keep sneaking in. Flames bending toward him, something watching, quietly building dread the whole time. That dread pays off the second a demon named Blackheart shows up hunting for that same soul crystal buried back in 1866. He's young, casual, openly mocking the older demons around him. Instantly the most dangerous thing on screen because he doesn't play by the old rules. Blackheart needs muscle to find what he's after. Therefore, he recruits a trio of elemental demons known as the Hidden, Gressel, Skinner, and Wallow, who've been hiding in plain sight among humans for years, each one getting just enough personality to make their fights land later. Back at a stadium event, Johnny runs straight into Roxanne again. She's now a TV reporter. He fumbles his words on live camera, adorably, masking what's actually a pretty loaded reunion underneath. Johnny isn't letting her walk away twice. Therefore, he chases her down and finally admits why he really left. The honesty that pushes them both to try again. That same night, Mephistopheles, the Stranger's real identity, drops the truth on Johnny. He's the host for the Spirit of Vengeance. Because of that, he has to transform and hunt down Blackheart, alive, in exchange for his freedom. Johnny has zero choice here. Therefore, he rides out that night and transforms for the first time. Flaming skull, chain weapon, motorcycle turning into a fire-breathing beast, shot like straight-up body horror instead of a superhero win. As the Ghost Rider, he goes after Blackheart and the demon Skinner immediately. Mid-fight, he unleashes his signature move for the first time, the penance stare, forcing a target to relive every sin they've ever committed. And tellingly, he tests it on a dirty cop, not a demon. That fight leaves Johnny badly beaten. As a result, he wakes up the next morning in the care of a mysterious cemetery caretaker who clearly knows way more than he's letting on. Instantly, the mentor this story needed. Meanwhile, Roxanne starts digging into the Ghost Rider story for her job. Therefore, she slowly connects his signature gesture to Johnny's, a thread that pays off big later. Things escalate fast. Police tie Johnny's bike to the wreckage from his first transformation, and as a result, he's arrested. However, that's the exact moment Blackheart ambushes his loft and grabs Roxanne. Brutal timing. Johnny's powerless behind bars the second it matters most. The spirit of vengeance doesn't wait for permission. Ghost Rider busts out that night in a massive chase. Rooftops, a hijacked helicopter, a river escape. Pure adrenaline release after 2 acts of slow burn dread. In a quieter, sadder beat, Caretaker gets ambushed by Blackheart and Wallow while protecting the location of Blackheart's hideout, a ghost town called San Venganza. Before he dies, he reveals he made a nearly identical deal decades earlier to save his own dying daughter. And it also went wrong. Gutting. Parallel. With Caretaker gone, Johnny needs a guide. Therefore, a ghostly cowboy, the very first Ghost Rider from that 1866 opening, leads him across the desert towards San Venganza. A full circle callback showing Johnny exactly what he could become if he stays trapped in vengeance forever. At San Venganza, Blackheart forces Roxanne to unlock the soul crystal, since only a pure soul can open it. As a result, the energy of 1,000 damned souls floods into him, making him monstrously stronger. Johnny arrives seconds too late to stop it. Therefore, he walks straight into a fight he's now losing badly. The battle turns brutal fast. However, Roxanne throws him the Hellfire-charged shotgun Caretaker gave him earlier, a perfect payoff for a weapon planted way back when nobody was paying attention. The sun's about to rise, and his power's about to vanish with it. Nevertheless, Johnny drags Blackheart into shadow just long enough to transform one last time and hit him with the penance stare directly. And because Blackheart's carrying 1,000 sinners worth of guilt, it hits with 1,000 times the force, reducing him to a broken, mindless shell. Johnny looks like he's won. However, that's exactly when Mephistopheles shows up. And here's the reveal this whole movie's been quietly building toward. Blackheart is his son, and he's furious Johnny left him ruined instead of bringing him back alive like he ordered. This is the sharpest gut punch in the whole story, because Johnny throws Mephistopheles' own logic right back in his face. Technically, Blackheart's alive. Deal kept to the letter, exactly like what happened to Johnny's father at the very start. As a result, the devil gets beaten at his own game. Mephistopheles has nothing left to bargain with. Therefore, he storms off, warning he'll find another host for the spirit of vengeance eventually. That confrontation forces the choice that defines Johnny completely. Instead of fighting the curse, he decides to keep it and wield it on his own terms. In the final scene, Johnny tells Roxanne the hard truth. He can't fully come back to a normal life with her, because there are people out there who need what he's become, bittersweet instead of triumphant, closing on that same, always and forever, from their teenage years. Roxanne's closing voiceover explains the Ghost Rider has become something like a local legend, feared by some, seen as a protector by others. Therefore, that final shot of Johnny riding alone into the desert echoes the very first Ghost Rider galloping through that same landscape back in 1866. In my own view, what makes Ghost Rider work isn't really the fire or the stunts, even though that's obviously the hook. It's that the hero and the villain are built on the exact same idea. A desperate bargain made out of love that spirals completely out of control. Johnny doesn't get revenge, and he doesn't ride off into a clean, happy ending. However, that's the better choice, because it leaves him stuck in that uncomfortable space between hero and monster. And that's the kind of ending that actually sticks with you.